Hey guys, welcome to another foster care update. I know I haven't really been doing videos here recently, and that's partly because the foster care side of life is starting to take over again. Definitely feeling a little bit of deja vu here, and also just trying to make sure that I have my priorities straight. I don't always have time to film here, even though I would like to be filming more than I am. But today I feel like we got a fairly decent, large foster care update to share. So a little bit of background in case you haven't been here or you've missed a few videos. Back in February of 2020, we took in R2-D2. He was 17 months at the time, and then the next February, we took in his younger sister, who we call BB8. She was 5 months at the time. And they, back last summer slash fall slash winter, we're transitioning to birth family. I have a bunch of videos from that season, which was crazy. I have lots of different videos. BB8 went back to family in November, and R2 went back at the very beginning of January. And then in March, they were both back in our care. So we've had R2 for over 2 years, and we've had BB8 for about a year. But it's been like almost 2.5 years with R2 and almost 1.5 years with BB8, kind of off and on. And the way things are looking right now, I'm assuming within the next month they will be out of our care once again. So right now we are doing visits with a different family member than we were doing last year. And I did share in my previous update that I was a little bit nervous about this, and I mean I still am. At the same time, things are going a little better this time around than they did last year. I'm not completely sure on all the reasons as to why, because I also have more concerns, but I think overall they're going well enough that I assume they will be not in our care in the next month. Right now we are doing visits a few times a week. Next week, or I guess the end of the week that you guys are watching this, they will be having their first sleepover if things continue to go as they are. And yeah, I don't know beyond that where things are going. This is a weird situation because I know from our previous, it's not a weird situation, I feel like this is a typical situation. Because of our previous foster kids experience that we have had, and then also our experience last year with these kids, it's hard because it seems like even when kids are returned to birth family, it is never permanent. I mean, very rarely permanent. It often feels like, well, like in a few months they'll be back in care. And as much as things seem to be going well now, I kind of feel like I'm not going to be surprised at all if they're back in care in a few months. And so part of me just wants them to go to birth family so that we can just get the process moving and they can be back sooner. And I feel bad because it's such a pessimistic way to view things, but that's kind of how the past has been. So our previous foster kids, Buzz and Woody, they left us and then they came back into care a few months later, and then they were good, and then they're back in care. Like, you know, it's back and forth. And with R2 and BB8, we've kind of decided that we are going to leave space in our house for them so that whenever they come back into care, we are available. Sorry about the lighting. The sun can't decide if it's behind the clouds or not, which I think is a good thing. The transition for them to come back into our home was so easy. They just jumped right in and they were excited to be here and came back into routines really well. But it's hard knowing the trauma. And then when I think back to when I picked R2 up, and for the entire month after I picked him up, he kept saying, "Mommy, you came back for me." Then thinking about dropping him off again permanently, even if it is just for a few months, I feel so bad. Like, And unfortunately, with our system the way it is, we have no rights, like no ability to do anything. R2 came into care over 2.5 years ago, but because they went to birth family, or he went to birth family at the beginning of this year and then came back in March, the paperwork only shows that he's been in care for like 3 months. When I feel like it should take into consideration the entire time they've been in care. Because only when they have been in care for 18 months straight does the social worker start long-term planning. And start long-term planning is used very loosely. Like it's not actually something that happens quick at all. So it is just, there's no permanence in the lives of the children in the foster care system in our province. When I hear about the states and a lot of the provinces that I've talked to people in, if a kid's been in care for 18 months, like they're adopted. Like it's so much quicker and permanent, and it makes sense. Like I want birth family to have the ability to take care of the kids if they can. But how many tries do we give them without taking into consideration the trauma on the children? That is my biggest struggle. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to be changing anything, nor if, like, it's just not really a possibility. So we're here for the ride and waiting to see where this goes, and ready to be a soft place to land should they come back in care again. But I will give an official update if they leave in the next few months. I'm thinking it would probably be like middle of July, but I don't always know. Social workers often have a different plan than I do, so we'll see. And then another fairly big update. We have decided to open up our home to another foster child. We have a bed currently in a room that could have another child. I looked at the numbers again. As of March of this last year, there was 100 less kids in foster care in our province than there was the year before, but there's still 3,500 kids in care, and our province only has a population of 1 million people. And there's only 460-ish homes. So there's 100 less kids, but there's also like, I think 10 or 15 less homes. And if you do the math, that equals to be 7.5 kids per home, which everyone knows we don't have 7.5 foster kids in our home, nor do we even have 7. So there's a desperate need. So we did the stuff needed last week, and we're waiting for approval right now. We have decided that any other foster children that we take in now will be a bit older. Originally we started with 0 to 4 because Ephraim was 7 when we started, 6. And we wanted kids younger than him. But now that he's 9, we can have some older kids. And at first I was worried about having foster kids in school because we homeschool. I thought that might cause some problems. And it might, but now that I'm also getting older, I feel like I don't want to be in the baby stage forever. I love that I have friends that want newborns continually. Great, good for them. I do not. And I like that about foster care is like, you know, if you stick to the area that is maybe a better age range for you, if everyone does that, we should get all the different age ranges covered. We didn't, even BB8 is younger than we wanted. We made an exception because she was R2's sister. So we're thinking from ages 4 to 8-ish for the next one, but we'll see. We have to wait for approval. I'm assuming we will get approved since a number of months ago already they phoned us for an 8-year-old randomly when we were only approved for 0 to 4 and weren't even talking about increasing our age or accepting another child. So that's kind of where we're at. So in a month from now we could have 0 to 3 foster kids. I have no idea. No idea what life is going to hold. And once again, this is the hardest stage to be in, is the unknown. A couple weeks ago when it looked like they were here permanently, life felt so smooth and easy and it just flowed. And now there's a lot more emotions and trauma and tantrums and things are a lot more uncertain, and they're getting older and they're picking up on stuff more. When social workers come, they're listening, at least R2 is. And so, yeah, I guess that's a bit of an update. A lot of ramblings about foster care and where things are at now, and just knowing that God has them in his hands. So lots of praying, lots of not clinging onto things too tightly, and just trusting that he has a plan and that he will use us when the system allows us to be used. So thank you so much for your prayers, and just continuing to keep us in your prayers.